You know, one of the biggest shifts in the global workforce is happening right now, and it's flying almost completely under the radar. It involves hundreds of thousands of people, a country's incredible futuristic vision, and, believe it or not, the biggest sporting event on the planet. We're talking about a total rewrite of the rules for migrant workers, and it's a story you've got to hear. Let's start with a number, 400,000. Give or take, that's how many workers from Nepal are in Saudi Arabia right now. For decades, these are the folks who've been the literal backbone of the kingdom's amazing construction booms. But the system that got them there, it's always been a massive, high-stakes gamble. So what happens when a system that has worked one way for generations just gets completely flipped on its head? Well, that's exactly what's going on. A brand new agreement is redefining the entire relationship between the worker, the recruiter, and the company that hires them. When you boil it all down, this whole story is about a move away from a system that was random and super risky for workers to one that's all about verified skills and actual security. And this isn't some small adjustment. It's a complete paradigm shift. So let's break down what that really looks like. To really get just how big of a deal this is, we have to look back at the old way of doing things. For years and years, the entire recruitment model was pretty much built on one thing: hope. Hope you'd actually get the job you were promised, hope you'd get paid what they said, and hope you'd be safe. And man, the old system was just riddled with problems. Workers would often have to pay these massive, totally illegal fees to shady sub-agents. They had to worry about something called contract substitution. That's a nasty bait and switch where the great salary they were promised back home suddenly shrinks the moment they land in Riyadh. And get this is a huge one. Insurance usually only covered you if you got hurt at the workplace. If you had a medical emergency back in your dorm, you were completely on your own. So you have to ask, what could possibly be powerful enough to just dismantle a system that's been entrenched for decades? Well, the answer is a kind of perfect storm, a combination of huge national ambition and some very real, unmovable deadlines. And both of those things demand a much better, much more reliable workforce. You can see the timeline for this change pretty clearly. It all kicks off with Vision 2030, which is Saudi Arabia's master plan to move its economy beyond oil. Then you get the new labor agreement with Nepal, which creates the legal teeth for the changes. And pushing it all forward is that massive deadline, the 2034 FIFA World Cup. You can't postpone the World Cup, so you need a huge, skilled workforce ready to go. And here's the crucial part. Saudi Arabia isn't just building roads and basic buildings anymore. It's creating this incredibly high-end visitor economy. Think luxury hotels, massive entertainment complexes, futuristic cities like Neom. So the demand isn't for just any labor anymore. It's for skilled professionals who can deliver a truly world-class experience. So let's crack open this new rulebook. This agreement between Nepal and Saudi Arabia is the legal engine powering this whole transformation. And it is packed with specific, enforceable protections that, honestly, would have sounded like a fantasy just a few years ago. First up, and this is a total game changer, is mandatory 24-hour insurance. Remember that huge gap we talked about where workers were only covered on the job site? Well, this slams that door shut. Whether you're at work, in your housing, or just out on your day off, you are covered. It just completely de-risks the whole process for the worker and makes it crystal clear who's responsible. Here's another move that's absolutely historic: Social Security integration. For the first time ever, Nepali workers are going to be formally part of the Saudi Social Security system. This gives them a real long-term safety net, and it makes the kingdom a way more attractive place for top talent who are thinking about their future, not just a quick paycheck. Now, of course, promises are one thing, but how do you make sure they're kept? That's where the wage protection system comes in. Think of it like a digital watchdog. All the contracts are standardized, they're uploaded to a government platform, and salaries have to be paid through monitored bank channels. This makes those old tricks like changing contracts or just not paying people, well, practically impossible. Okay, so we've got all these fantastic new rules on paper, but how do you actually enforce them on the ground? How do you make sure the person who shows up is a skilled plumber and not just some guy who paid a fee? This is where the single most important piece of the new system comes into play. It's called the Skill Verification Program, or SVP, and it's simple but brilliant. Before a skilled worker can even apply for a visa, they have to pass both a written exam and a hands-on practical test, right there in their home country. They have to physically prove they can do the job, weld a pipe, fix an AC unit, you name it. And if you fail, the system just won't issue the visa. There are no exceptions, no workarounds. This is exactly why one analysis called the SVP, and I love this phrase, the operational death of random recruitment. You just can't fake it till you make it anymore. You can't bluff your way through with a piece of paper. The system forces competence because an unskilled person literally cannot pass the test. And that just completely shatters the old exploitative business model. So, if that old model is dead and buried, what rises from the ashes? What we're seeing is the emergence of a totally new kind of recruitment agency. They're not acting like simple visa brokers anymore. They're operating like modern, professional talent management firms. The agencies that are going to thrive in this new world are the ones that are totally professional. We're talking ISO certified for quality. They're also ethical, following that global standard that says workers should never have to pay to get a job. Their whole value is finding genuinely good pre-screened candidates who can ace those skill tests and then knock it out of the park on the job, especially in that booming hospitality and service industry. I mean, when you put the two systems side by side, the contrast is just stark. It's night and day. We're going from random, unverified sourcing to pre-interviewed, screened candidates. We're going from unskilled to certified professional. From huge illegal worker fees to a clean, ethical model where the employer pays. And for the client in Saudi Arabia, you're shifting from a high-risk gamble to a low-risk investment in quality people who will actually stick around. And that kind of leaves us with one final, fascinating thought to chew on. In a world where we are constantly talking about AI and automation replacing human jobs, here's a system being built that puts an incredible premium on verified human skill and well-being. So the question is this skill-first, protection-focused approach just a solution for one country? Or could it actually be a blueprint for the future of how people move around the world for work? Now that is something to think about.